Next week is the last week of my first semester of college, and I feel like right now is the perfect time to do a Q&A video, really catch up on life, because recently I've just been feeling that over the last 12 months I've had such a transformation in my mindset and my character, even my personality, and I feel like I haven't really been able to eloquently communicate that online. And I'm still struggling to figure out what type of level of vulnerability I want to have with my content because, for context, I've been creating content for almost a decade now. January 1st, 2025 will be my 10-year anniversary, which is crazy. But when I was in elementary school and high school, I did feel like I was more of an open book online, that the videos I'd made were a very accurate reflection of my inner world. But I feel like as I've matured, I've really valued having more of that work-life separation. I think I've felt like I don't want someone to just feel like they can figure out all the details of my personal life, the things that I'm struggling with through binge watching my video. I wanted there to be more of a barrier to entry into my personal life, which I think is great. It's a great way to mature, but I think a challenge that I'm running up against is I have a lot of analysis paralysis in terms of what I should share online. And sometimes I wish I could be more vulnerable with you guys. So I'm still working through that and strengthening my discernment, strengthening my ability to discern what I want to share online and what I don't. So I think that this life update Q&A will be a good opportunity to push myself a little bit out of my comfort zone, but in a healthy way. Question: how has your experience been adjusting to a new life in college and making new friends? Also, I'm going off of Instagram questions that you guys gave me through my story, so make sure to follow me on Instagram at AnnieLongYT. I'm actually very active on Instagram as a platform. I think that adjusting to life at college was, somewhat chaotic in the beginning, but I really do feel like I was made to be at college. What I mean by this is every college student has definitely had a diverse experience of what it's like to adapt to college, and I did find that a lot of people who were very comfortable and at peace in high school were kind of destabilized during their college first semester, just because when you are very comfortable with the structure and familiarity of your hometown, it can be really difficult to move to a new place where there's just such diverse perspectives, so many different things going on. But I think for me, I definitely did not feel a ton of peace in my hometown and in my high school. So I think for me, I was very used to, that chaotic energy, or very used to just meeting a ton of new people, not really having a strong sense of my people. So I feel like because of that, I didn't really struggle that much with any growing pains. I think for multiple years in high school, I was very much itching to go to college. So I'm very happy that I'm finally here. I think what was most challenging in the beginning is that I wanted to give off a very bubbly impression to each person that I met, because I feel like especially when you have a public platform, sometimes people have negative connotations towards content creators, assuming that maybe they think they're better than others, have a superiority complex, they seem intimidating. And I've had a lot of my friends tell me that their first impression of me was that I was intimidating. So sometimes that gets in my head. So the first couple weeks of college, I broke down crying 2 times. So when I first met my roommates, I literally cried in their shoulders twice. But I expressed how trying to be this bubbly person was just really exhausting. And I am a really bubbly person. I think with my close friends, I definitely am. But I feel like I was overcompensating because I feared that people would think, she's just that intimidating influencer girl. And even just the first week of college, a lot of people exchange Instagrams. You meet people who are like, what's your name, major, where are you from? Let me get your Instagram. And I think what I struggle with is if I gave people my Instagram, they would then see the platform that I have and, comment on that, not in a negative way, but just I didn't want to draw attention to that. But I also felt pressure to give people my Instagram and pressure to follow other people on Instagram, just because when you're in a circle of 10 freshmen and everyone's exchanging Instagrams, I didn't want to give off the image of I don't want to follow you on Instagram. But I was getting to the point where I followed 1,600 people from Instagram, and I didn't even know these people that well. So I kind of hit a breaking point where my roommates and other friends in my life were telling me genuinely, you can't be so tied up in what you think others will think of you, of your fear of man. So I kind of entered my villain arc. I just started unfollowing a ton of people that I didn't feel were relevant in my life, that I wasn't even interested in being friends with. Something that's been a huge growth point for me in college, which might seem counterintuitive or it might come off wrong, but I've realized it's totally okay to be like, I don't want to be friends with that person. To not always be super agreeable or not feel desperate for friends. Because I think I went to a pretty small high school. I had about 200 kids per grade. And in this high school, it feels very socially limiting because if you have a fallout with a friend, then that friend's friends don't like you, and it's just very socially limiting. So I feel that in high school, I did not feel like I had the luxury to just be like, I don't want to be friends with this person. But at USC, the University of Southern California, we have approximately 20,000 undergrads. So there are so many people you could potentially be friends with. So I think just realizing I don't have to vibe with everyone, I don't have to follow everyone on Instagram, that gave me a lot of peace, and just realizing it's okay if people are intimidated. But that's still something that I grapple with and deal with because I associate being intimidating as being unlovable. I mean, the dictionary definition of being intimidating is synonymous with being frightening. And that just makes me feel like, oh, am I like the ice queen? But I think people who are genuinely really close to me, like one of the most common compliments I get is that I'm sweet. And that's like a compliment I love to receive, even more than compliments about like being ambitious. I think a challenge for me in the transition to college was sleep, social life, and work. I've seen like diagrams, the kind of memes that are like in college, sleep, social, schoolwork, like are kind of like a triangle and you can only choose two. I was really struggling with that because I felt like I didn't have as much social bandwidth as some of my friends did. What I mean by this is I am a very extroverted person, and when I'm talking about social bandwidth, I mean that I value sleep a lot, getting around 8 to 9 hours of sleep, that like I would genuinely just like peace out and go to sleep so I could get 8 hours of sleep. And this like socially limited me, perhaps, because if people were literally like outside on campus talking till 4 a.m., which is a very common occurrence during the first couple weeks of college, and even just like beyond that, like I would just not stand for that. Like, because I was very much prioritizing my sleep. So I think in the beginning, I felt like I had to do it all. And I actually began the semester taking 18 units. And then I ended up dropping a 4-unit class. So I took 14 units this semester. The next semester I do plan to take 18, but I'm making some shifts in my schedule. So I think a big transition was also my schedule. Because I actually have like 8 a.m.s almost every day. And I willfully chose these. I think it's because I very much am a morning person and I like the idea of being done with all of my classes like before 12 p.m. I love just the idea of having the whole rest of the day free. But I think I should have been more realistic in realizing that I shouldn't always pick my schedule based on what's most optimal for my performance, but what's most optimal for me to feel connected to community. I feel that's very counterintuitive because a lot of people are like, you should wake up early, you should have XYZ routine. And yes, I'm still an advocate of waking up early. I think logically it is the best way to live life. In terms of even being awake when the sun's out, I think sunlight is so important for us as humans, just mental health. I'm sure there's other health benefits outside of your mental health. But if you, let's say, wake up at 10 a.m. every day, you're missing out on like a good 3 hours of sunlight. You know what I mean? So I genuinely think there is a reason why I should wake up early. Before the creation of the light bulb, people rose when the sun rose. They went to sleep soon after the sun set. So I think that is our natural mode of living. So yes, I still encourage going to sleep early, but I would say in college, a big focus of mine has been establishing community, because if you've been around this channel for a while, you know that in high school, I was very much achievement and performance based, which definitely came with pros and cons, but I think I was relationally deficient. So over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've really been trying to course correct with that. So that's what my freshman year of college has been about a lot. So I realized I do want to be awake when my friends are awake. Definitely, I still prioritize like my early morning schedule though. Although I don't wake up at like 6 or 5 a.m., like I won't consistently go to sleep at 2 a.m. Even if my friends go to sleep at 2 a.m., I don't think I'll ever do that. But I'm willing to go to sleep at 12 a.m. so that I can overlap with my friends' schedules more. So what I mean to say about this whole like sleep schedule thing is after recognizing the challenge of doing 8 a.m.s when I was registering for courses for my spring semester, I took a different approach. So my earliest class next semester starts at 10 a.m. So I have a lot more time earlier in the morning, just have leeway, have flexibility. And I think it's going to be better because when I do stay up later, do social things, I'm not really stressing out about getting up in the morning for my 8 a.m. And I'm also taking 18 units because I feel this time when I registered for my courses, I researched them more, I rate my professor, and I think that even if the workload is high, I feel like enjoying my classes, enjoying my professors will make it more bearable. So we will see if I can handle the 18 unit load. I'm getting more effective with work though. It was challenging to balance schoolwork and brand partnerships and content. But I think something that has really helped me in the last couple weeks as I've been gearing up for finals is bringing my laptop with me everywhere. For some reason, the idea of opening up my laptop and beginning work felt so challenging for me. But I think now I've developed a habit with quote-unquote dead time. What I mean by dead time is, let's say you're waiting for a friend to meet you at a cafe and you have like 10 to 12 free minutes. Like, what you do at that time can actually be really strategic. So now I just bring my computer almost everywhere and I just open it up and I just start doing work when I have dead time. And yes, like a 12-minute work session is not going to be as effective maybe as like sitting down at your desk, making that deliberate time. But it's like if you're already going to have that dead time, might as well utilize it. So I've been doing that more. And like slowly but surely that's allowing me to complete more assignments. So I feel like that's been really helpful. So I have a lot more hope going into the next semester, given that I'm adapting to new sleep schedule, new work habits. Question: if there was one thing you could have changed in the past, what would it be? I think this is a really good question. I know a lot of people, when they're asked about if they have regrets, they're like, no, like honestly, everything happens for a reason. I do believe that there is a reason behind everything, but I still feel that it's okay to have regrets. I feel like when people are like, oh, I have no regrets, I low-key feel like they're just coping. I don't know. I feel like sometimes people use everything happens for a reason as a way to justify unwise decisions. So that's kind of why I'm a little bit wary about the everything happens for a reason type saying. But I think for me, a regret that I have, it's really hard because it's just really hard to imagine like a parallel reality in which like when you do one thing differently, it can actually affect like the course of a lot of things. Like the butterfly effect. I think I regret not pursuing cohesive community. What I mean by cohesive community is like that interconnected web or network of friends. I know saying network of friends low-key sounds bad and transactional, but let me explain what I mean by that. So in high school, I feel like I had a lot of individual friendships, or like my best friends in high school, we were like a trio. So I guess that's kind of a group, but overall it's like pretty small. So I had like that trio and some like one-on-one friends from school and then one-on-one friends in church. And those friendships were great. But I think a challenge that I had is I just didn't have like a big community, like all knew each other outside of like my church, but that's like people of all different age groups. It's just not the same. Like it's not like you have this group chat where you can like send memes. We don't all follow each other and be real. Do you know what I mean? It's a different vibe. So yes, I did feel loved, but I did not feel very connected, that I had a community. I really enjoy hanging out with people one-on-one. Honestly, that is what I gravitate towards. Like I usually ask people to hang out one-on-one, But going into college, I actually tried to come in with the intention to make things group hangouts. So, like, even if I wanted to hang out with someone one-on-one, sometimes, like, I'd force myself to make it a group thing. And let me explain why. It was because I didn't want to feel like I had all these one-off relationships where my friends didn't know each other. I just started, like, quote-unquote mix and matching all my friends, like, hanging out all together, because I wanted to feel like I had a community. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's different having, like, 10 friends that don't know each other versus 10 friends that all know each other. And it doesn't even have to be a friend group. Like, at college, I have so many friends that know each other, but we're not all like a friend group. I think it also comes as a territory of just being an Asian girl. Like, a lot of my friends are also Asian girls, so I think a lot of us just know each other. But that has been something that's been such a blessing. So I'm not really sure, going back in time, how I would have went about pursuing that cohesive community. But yeah, I do wish that I just kept that in mind more. Like, yes, as much as I love one-on-one hangouts, maybe I could have intentionally did more group hangouts. And I think the reason why I really enjoy one-on-one hangouts is I do like getting to that, like, deep talk stage. And I feel like I've been trying to be better at not going into that too fast, too soon. So I think sometimes I'd push someone to be more vulnerable than they're being comfortable with. But I feel like because I've been, like, modest and conservative about asking deep questions, it's been really hard to turn that back on. And sometimes I feel like I'm not getting deep enough with people, which is such an interesting, like, challenge I feel that I'm having. Going into college, I expected to become, like, this close with people in weeks, because the way I was thinking about it is we live together, we study together, like, college is this constant sleepover. And yes, I would say college is somewhat a constant sleepover, but it actually takes a really long time to truly get to know someone, like, even to scratch, like, the tip of the iceberg. Because I was telling my roommate, with a lot of our friends, I know a lot about their presence, about, I don't know, even their MBTI, like their personality test results, their favorite color, clothing they like to buy, their go-to coffee order, why they're studying the major that they're studying. And then I know a little bit about their future. Like, what do you want to do post-grad? What do you want your future husband to be like? So I know a little bit about what they want in the future. But there's years of the past. There's so many significant stories of the past that I just don't know. And I have so many stories from the past that my friends don't know. And I think our past is actually pretty formative to who we are today. Even if we don't currently behave like we did 2 years ago, we've learned lessons from the last 2 years that have now influenced who we are today. So I think I'm realizing, like, yes, at the end of the semester, I have really close friends. They're great. But I still feel like I don't know them that well. And I was a little bit upset by this, but I honestly think it's a green flag. I think it's a good thing, because taking time and letting people earn your vulnerability. See, this comes back to what I was talking about in the beginning of this video, of me wanting to be more selective with my vulnerability, not putting everything online. I think it's very strategic. I think it's very wise. So I currently feel like my friendships are moving at an appropriate pace. I just think that there is this common expectation in college that you just get, like, so close to your roommate, so close to all your friends. But let me just tell you, from hearing upperclassmen or even sophomores tell me about roommate fallouts, friendship fallouts, I think a big contributor to those fallouts is just committing too fast and too hard at the beginning of the relationship. And I tell people, even with romance, I love a slow burn type romance. So I think the same thing for friendships is really beneficial. And I was talking to my roommate about it. I was like, we've had such a slow burn friendship, but I think it's honestly been healthy for us. So I'm excited for the next semester to begin to open up more to my friends, to learn more about them. But I mean, I love all the jokes that we have and the laughs that we have. And I think it's an appropriate stage for our friendship. It's more just like, I didn't expect that going into college. Have you met any cute guys at USC? I definitely think there are a lot of physically attractive people at USC, and I know I've had some people tell me and kind of discourage me, like, trust me, you're not going to find your future husband at USC. I don't actually believe that. I think that USC is such a diverse place. Although, like, I was really surprised. I assumed that I'd find more people at USC that are from the South. But there really are not that many people that are from the South at USC. But that's just kind of a random side tangent. I was surprised as well about how many California residents go to USC. Like, there are so many people here that are from SoCal, Bay Area, like Northern California, Asians. So that's been very fascinating. But yes, definitely a lot of physically attractive people at USC. I don't really believe in the whole, like, you can't find your future partner here, because this kind of, not all of you guys aren't like what I'm about to say, but a lot of the people who have told me you're not going to find your future husband here, let me just say that their bait they're using is not catching the fish that I want to fish. Not catching the fish I want to catch. See, I'm not going to expand on that one. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But I just don't really believe in that. Also, I know a lot of people who found their future husband at USC. You attract what you are. But yes, I have. But no potential romantic interest. I think for me, I can definitely appreciate that someone's cute, attractive, but my personal values on how I want to raise my future family and like the type of future husband, future father I'm looking for, like those logical things are so important to me. So it's like, yes, I can appreciate how charismatic or cute someone is, but if I know that I can't marry them, like if they're not marriage material, my mind just can't even get there. And I think that's been a big just signal of the growth I've had within my faith, because I am Christian, Protestant Christian, non-denominational. Definitely in the past, I would like a lot of guys who are not Christian. And I would kind of battle with God about that. I'd be like, oh, but they're so cute. But the thing is, for me, I wouldn't say the ick, but I kind of like want to throw up at the thought of me dating someone who's not Christian. Not because I think it's gross, but literally I'm just like, I can't imagine doing that. And this is not me trying to shame anyone who is of faith and is dating someone that's not of faith, because I have a lot of people in my life that are doing that. I'm just saying, for me personally, I see no reality in which that could happen for me. But it's like in the past it did. So I'm just saying that's been a shift. So I've definitely had like guy friends I thought were cute or like that I was really close to. And I feel like that's definitely a shift that I'm having of realizing I really don't want to be close to guy friends. That like I don't want to date. Like I actually just really don't believe in being friends with guys. Like being close friends, like one-on-one friends. So I like don't really ask guys to hang out anymore, low-key. But let me explain why I just don't think that me being super close friends with a guy is a good choice. I don't believe in being super close friends with a guy that I don't intend to date for multiple reasons. I think that there can be miscommunication on both ends in terms of if you see the relationship as platonic or romantic. I've had it happen both ways. I've had it happen where I saw a guy romantically, he did not see me romantically. I've had situations where guys saw me romantically, I did not. And I just don't think that the benefits outweigh the costs of that. Also, once I am in a relationship, I will not be hanging out with guys one-on-one consistently. Like, yes, if it's like we need to be one-on-one, sure. But I'm not gonna just like ask a guy like, oh, do you want to see a movie with me? Or like, do you want to do this with me? I'm just not. So I don't see the point in even doing that when I'm single. Because let's say I get super close to all these guy friends and then I enter my relationship. That means like all the dynamics that I have with those guys need to really change, because I told you guys, once I'm in a relationship, I don't want to act that way. So then I'm putting all my relational energy into these friendships that are just going to have to change once I'm cuffed up. And I also just need to ask myself and be so honest, what is the motivation behind having male friends? Like why do I need to have male friends? Or like why do I need to have male close friends? And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's a different, life experience. Ugh, I hate when people say that, like, oh, guys are less drama. That is low-key BS. Like, you're not a girl's girl for that. But I think for me, I'm like, I need to focus on having a healthy relationship with my father and my brother. And I'm so blessed that they're present in my life, so I'll just clarify that. That's definitely a privilege. But I'm like, I don't need all these just random men in my life. Like, I will be friends with guys. Like, if you go to the same church as me, like, Yeah, I'll enjoy our time together, but I'm not going to make an intentional effort to hang out with you one-on-one. I think also every girl is different. I know that it's kind of a common thing with guys, that guys will only like try to hang out one-on-one with girls that they like. I know some guys are different than that, but I've just heard that as a general consensus. I low-key feel like I'm like a guy too. I don't even have the desire to be close friends with guys that I wouldn't want to date. Like, I don't know how to describe, like, I just don't. And I do have close friends, close guy friends, who are not heterosexual. And it's like, yeah, I feel comfortable hanging out one-on-one with them. But even them, like, I wouldn't want to hang out with them, like I wouldn't want to be, like, tight. Like, so tight. I don't care if this is controversial. I'm just sharing my personal stance. I'm not making a value judgment on the choice that you make. What was it like trying to find a church at USC? Such a good question. That was a huge intention that I had entering college. And let me just tell you, if you are looking to strengthen your faith in college, to really encounter God, you need to make finding a home church a genuine priority and necessity. The reason why I say that is I know so many upperclassmen who tell me that they wish they were more proactive about finding a church when they were a freshman. It's so much easier to just get plugged into that community when you're a freshman compared to being an upperclassman. I've seen my siblings go through it, and I know that it can be hard to find a home church, but if you really set your mind to it, like if you really visit churches, you pray about it, like I don't really see a scenario in which you church hop for years and you can't find a church. For me, I've visited 2 churches in LA. The second one I visited, I'm currently at, is Tapestry LA. It's a church in downtown LA. And this church, when the first time I came, I really did not think that I was going to stay. Just because, for various reasons. I'm not going to say them online. I mean, nothing like super controversial. Like, nothing that the things I didn't love about the church, none of them were like unbiblical. It wasn't like, oh, they're preaching heresy. Nothing like that. Just like preferential things. But as I got to know the community better, I really gave the church more of a chance, because the pastor advised, when you church hop, give a church at least 6 weeks for you to really understand who they are as a community. I think it's actually so important, because to judge a whole church congregation based off one Sunday service you went to, it's not really fair, or I don't think it's how Jesus would have approached looking for a church community. But obviously, if you go to one church service and the preacher preaches something that's unbiblical, yeah, don't go there again, if you notice any blaring red flags. But I think what the pastor told me about give it a 6 weeks, like I kept on going to the church. And I found that, by the 3rd week, I was like, I feel like this is really the community for me. So I've become really involved at my church. I've had weeks where I go to the church like multiple times per week, and a lot of my friends also go to my church, so I'm just so grateful for that community, and I feel like it's helped me encounter God in new ways, because the church I go to now, similarly to my church in Massachusetts, are larger congregations, like I'd say like over 1,500 members, so I am used to the size, but I think the culture of the church is pretty different. Church I go to right now, it is very populated with Korean Americans, and I haven't really been able to deduce the exact like cultural ways that Korean Americans relate to God, but I will say that in this new church there's so much more of an emphasis on like beholding the beauty of Jesus, on that very intimate, like seeing Jesus as beautiful, on very like quiet and gentle spirit, a lot of time for like silence, solitude. Yeah, that's like the vibe that I get, and there's a lot of like international missions, a big emphasis on that. And then my home church, it's much more of like a fiery, passionate spirit for God, and much more emphasis on like this is truth, this is false. So I think both are very beneficial for me to understand God. So I'm very grateful that I have both communities to inform my theology. But I would say, yeah, I definitely like love my new church because it's helping me encounter God in a new way that I hadn't previously. Do you feel a lot of academic pressure going to a school with so many smart people? Really good question. I think for USC and other colleges, it really depends what program you're in because every program has a different culture to it. So I'll just speak upon my program at USC. I'm part of the Marshall School of Business. I'm studying business administration, hopefully with a concentration in finance, but I'm only going to declare that later on. So still testing the waters, but I really like finance. I want to pursue private wealth management in the family offices, but I'm just saying that as a freshman, so I could totally change my mind very soon or later on. But in the Marshall School of Business, I would say there's a big emphasis on networking and clubs. So people don't really like compare their grades in like econ and stuff like that. Like, at least in my experience, people don't talk about their grades that much. But it's really about what you do outside of your classes that becomes kind of competitive within the business school. So like the consulting clubs, the finance clubs are actually pretty competitive to get into. There are some clubs on campus where their acceptance rate is lower than USC's acceptance rate as a school. So I think that goes to show that that's like kind of more the cutthroat environment. But I would say I haven't felt a ton of like imposter syndrome at USC. Low-key, this might sound bad, but I will say I'm surprised by the academic range you'll find at USC. Like, there are definitely some really smart people at USC, but I've definitely been in some rooms where I'm like, yeah, I might be at the top percentile. Again, I'm literally saying like this kind of sounds bad, but I'm just being honest about my experience at USC so far. I've been surprised that I haven't really felt that imposter syndrome. But maybe that's just because like USC is like the right school for me. You know, maybe I'm at the correct challenge level. Maybe if I went to a school that's even more prestigious, I wouldn't feel that way. Are the girls at USC actually really mean, or is that the stereotype? I think this kind of goes back to the point that I made about the myth that you can't find your future husband at USC. USC really is a very diverse place. There really is a place for most people at USC. So I can't really generalize. Like, there is no like one image of a USC girl. There are stereotypes of like USC sorority girls, things like that. I haven't met anyone that's been like mean to my face, but I can definitely, understand where that perception comes from. I would say that what you get from USC and most colleges is just a reflection of how human nature is. No matter like how bubbly the school you go to is, no matter how smart and ambitious the students are, humans will still act how humans do. And we are selfish by nature. We enjoy to gossip by nature. We're cliquey sometimes by nature. So I would say there's nothing like unique about girls that you might find mean at USC. Are you missing home at all? I don't miss home that much. Again, these are one of the things that I like feel bad saying it, but guys, I'm just being honest, and it's not like a bad thing. I think one factor is that my older sister goes to school here at USC. She's an architecture student and she's in a 5-year program, and this is her 5th year. So I think that once she graduates USC and it's just me out here, I mean, she might stay in LA post-grad, so I might still have a family member that's somewhat nearby. It does still kind of feel like home in LA, and I feel like I'm very suited for the West Coast in Southern California specifically, so it already feels like home here. I remember when I came home for Thanksgiving break, I low-key made my mom upset because I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bring this back home, like referring to USC as my home. And I did not do this intentionally, guys. I did not intentionally call my dorm home. It's just that it genuinely feels like home. And yes, I do miss my friends from Massachusetts, but I just really see a future of building my community here. And again, I'm literally in my first semester of college, so this could totally change. I know that LA as a municipality has a lot of issues. Like, I know logically LA is not always the best place to live, but I really do resonate with this current community. And I FaceTime my parents very often, so I communicate often with my parents, and I know that there's something so different from like an in-person interaction and connecting with people, but I'm actually pretty used to maintaining long-distance relationships online. So I feel very connected with my parents, even when I'm not physically with them. So before coming home for Thanksgiving, I would call my mom at least twice per week. So once I came home for Thanksgiving, yes, it was so nice to see her in person. That's such a great experience. But I didn't really feel like that much closer to her in person than I did online. So again, I don't know if this sounds bad. I'm just saying that I'm like pretty intentional about maintaining my relationships online. Like, I don't just text people, I call them, I Zoom call them. So in that way, I don't miss like physical home that much. Like, I feel like I could probably stay in LA for like a couple years and like literally be okay. What do you miss the most about high school? I think I miss my math teachers. For some reason, I always really got along with my math teachers, and they were so sweet, definitely helped me in times where I was just struggling mentally, and I just really enjoyed their classes. So, my statistics class was great, and my AP Calc class was great. What's the transition from high school to college like? It's just so liberating. I don't really need to expand on that. Those are all the questions I'm going to answer today. It was so nice to catch up with y'all. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at AnnieLongYT for the next time that I do a Q&A. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next one.